Erica's on a much needed vacation. She's going to Montreal for the weekend, so Lena and I are gonna go camping. And while we're doing that, I thought I'd make a video along the way where we would compare the Yashica T4 and the Olympus MJU-1. And two different great point and shoot cameras, but with under the lens of like what's a great road trip, having fun, documenting memories kind of camera. So like basically which one's best for a 1995 road trip with your parents in the van, because that's kind of what I'm doing. The two cameras are the Yashica T4, which I already have film in it, so I'm not going to load right now. And this is a camera I've used for a really long time. I absolutely love this. And then we're going to load the other one, the MJU here. And I'm going to put in... So the film I'm going to use is Ultramax 400, just because it's cheap. And it's great for this kind of test stuff. But it's also like a gas station film. It's what you'd expect to buy, and so it seems like the perfect film for a road trip. So to use this one, it's such an easy load, which is so nice. So just right in there, clicks in, just the tiniest of movements. No, por favor. Mucho galleta. And that should be it. Yep, ready to go. Nina. So road trips with the newborn are definitely very different. Involve a lot more stopping. So I figured we'd stop and check out these cooling towers that I've looked at my entire life. I really thought I'd be able to get up closer to them, but it's kind of fenced off, but it's still really cool to see. Talk a little bit about the experience of using these two cameras. This one I've had for years. This one I just acquired recently, and it's a gift, so I won't have it for too long. First, let's talk about the Yashica. The things I love about this camera, the biggest thing that's the best about it is speed. It has an amazingly fast autofocus. So it's on, that takes a second. When you're taking a photo, I swear, it's just like every time, bam, 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 bam. It takes photos super, super great. Like I took it to Ecuador, I took it to Mexico, and I've done a bunch of like street photography there. And while doing that, like the camera just was so great. Like it was nailing focuses all the time, and just instant. Like you'd see a thing, take a photo. Other things I really like, I love the super scope here, this little thing that you can look down through the top to see what's going on, which is super helpful if you're taking photos that are either like low angles, high angles, or if you're just like taking things like with the timer, then it's super helpful because you can see where you're looking without having to get down on the ground and look through it. It also does let you put the timestamp on the back, which is kind of cool. I've taken it to weddings and put the wedding date on it and stuff, which is kind of funky but fun. It's also a super easy loader, which is great. And yeah, I mean, the lens is epically known. It's a very good lens for that reason. The Zeiss lens is, you know, supposed to be one of the best, and honestly I think it's lived up for the most part. I dropped mine in Bangladesh a couple years ago, and so I feel like it's never been quite the same since then, which isn't great, but it's good enough. And yeah, but as far as negatives go with this camera, the first one is that when you turn it on, it's automatically in auto flash mode, which is super frustrating, because that means if the camera thinks it's too dark, it's going to fire a flash. And so it's then 1, 2, 3 buttons, and then the flash is off, which is just a lot of buttons to make it go away. So that's kind of silly. Like I said, the focus, mine being just a little bit off, is kind of annoying, and it's a point and shoot, so you're looking through a very small viewfinder, so you do miss photos here and there, and that's kind of, I guess, to be expected. I probably miss maybe 10% of the photos, so in a roll of 36 I'd expect to miss 3, 4, or 5 photos, somewhere in that range, and that's probably okay. The timer is just the one button on the top, which is kind of annoying because it's just like a quick tap, because I bumped it a few times and started, but you can always just turn the camera off, and then that stops it if you don't like the timer. Other downsides of this camera is that it doesn't have the ability to do any exposure compensation or to push and pull. Like, it just reads the DX code off the film, and that's kind of what you're stuck with. I've been looking into ways, if there's ways you can trick it into thinking it's those. But yeah, because one of the issues I do have with this camera is that it often feels like it really works hard to make sure not blowing highlights, but that means sometimes shadows aren't filled in enough, which is definitely a problem with film, because I need those shadows to be filled in. Like, I'm probably not going to be able to blow 35mm negative highlights very well, especially if all I really want is an extra stop out of this thing. I just want it to be a little bit brighter. So a lot of times I'll do the half press, which does work fairly well, as long as you're looking for things that are the same distance away, that generally the same, like, for focus reasons. So I do the half press and then recompose. If I start it in a shadow and then pull it up into the highlights, that'll make sure that it's exposing for the shadows. And it's just a thing I've kind of come to live with, and it's part of the aesthetic of the camera, but I don't like it. And one last thing I don't love is that it vignettes pretty hard. Other people might love that. I'm not a huge fan of vignettes, so there's that. All in all, though, I really do love this camera, and I'm so thankful that I have it, and that I didn't have to pay $500 for it. So we'll talk a little bit about the Olympus, which honestly, the thing about these cameras is that the lenses are almost identical. They're both 35mm 3.5, and so that's the same. I don't think this is, the quote-unquote Zeiss one, but it still is really nice. I still really like it. I think the flash on this one is it's interesting because it's a little bit more central, whereas this is over here on the side, so it just changes where that flash is going to be coming from, and adjusting, it's just going to have shadows look a little bit different. That probably means red eye could happen a little bit more often, but that's not a huge deal. Similarly, you do have to it comes on in auto flash mode, so you do have to hit it. Luckily for this one, it's actually just 2 buttons, and then the flash is off, which is nice to be a little bit faster. And then for the timer, you have to hold it down and then hold down the trigger, and that will take, like, the shutter, and that will take the photo. As far as things I don't like, which is funny, this is the thing I like and don't like, because I love how quickly it turns on. It's just like, boom, you're taking photos. But also, if you wear skinny jeans, so if you're, no matter who you are, if you wear skinny jeans, the issue with it is that this gets caught going into your pocket, and it's the same if I put it in, like, towards the inside or towards the butt. Like, I feel like it's always getting turned on in my pocket, which is just annoying because it wastes battery, it goes through those kind of things a little bit quicker, and it does run the risk that you could be taking pictures inside your butt pocket. So there's that. It's a lot louder. You can hear it's a lot louder than the Yashica is, and especially for taking photos, the shutter is a lot louder and the winder is a lot louder. And the last one is that this camera, I don't know if it's just this particular one or not, but I feel like you really have to want to take a photo before it'll take a photo. So if you go down and you're holding it down, it does have a half hold to help with focus, similar thing, so you can expose for shadows, recompose, all that kind of stuff. But you have to really want to take the photos, or really hold it down, and then I don't know, it feels like it's like you have to tell it in your brain. It's like, no, do you really want to do this? You sure you want to do this? Okay, and then I'll take a photo. But it is a little bit smaller than the Yashica here. which is definitely nice. Like I said, this one's probably better for pockets, just because of that door thing, but this one is smaller. Maybe if you're going with back pockets all the time, maybe you can figure out a way to make that work better. Or if you took off the wrist strap and went in vertically or something, maybe that would do it. This one does not have the numbers on the back. Plenty of other models do, but just this one doesn't. Yeah, so those are kind of the usage stuff about these two cameras and how they compare. Last difference between the two cameras that I've just figured out, I've just noticed since using it, is that this one has a pretty far minimum focusing distance, which I think I don't know if the camera would take it right now, but it won't take a photo if it can't take a photo. And so I was saying earlier how you have to really make it want it, which is kind of a weird situation because I feel like sometimes I'm sitting there and trying to take a photo. I'm like, why? Come on, I really want to take this photo. Holding down the shutter, and it won't do it. But it intelligently is like, no, the thing that's obviously I'm trying to take photos of is too close. I can't do that. This one definitely has a little bit closer minimum focusing distance, which is nice if you're trying to take photos of things that are close, but it will just take photos even if it can't. It'll still just be like, well, I'll just go to minimum and just go for that. So that is definitely like a little bit of a plus, even if it's also kind of an annoying thing too. Final thoughts on these two cameras. I gifted the Olympus already, so I can't hold them both. Imagine that I have two cameras in my hand. But yeah, the two things I'm going to come down to is that I definitely think that the Yashica did better in low light situations. I came back with quite a few blurry, out of focus photos from the Olympus from that like sunsetty time that were just completely useless. Whereas this did pretty well. I don't know about nighttime solutions and stuff like that. I thought the flashes on them were pretty equitable. The exposures looked pretty good in the daytime. So when it comes down to it, is the Yashica worth 4 times as much as the Olympus? Probably not. If you're looking for $100 point and shoot, get the MJU-1. It's an awesome camera. If you stumble upon one of these, they're definitely better, but I wouldn't say that I think it's worth $300 more when $300 buys you a lot of film or a really cheap plane ticket to go practice taking your photos someplace else. Because in the end, we don't want cameras to own the cameras and show them off. It's to take pictures. So go take some pictures.